Okay, Assalamu alaikum. So today we are going to quickly discuss Weberianism in the context of religion. So Weber, of course, is one of the great sociologists, and he does differ from Durkheim because when Weber comes to your mind, what should come to your mind is social change. Okay, the transformations. Of course, he talks about things like urbanization, industrialization, all part of transformation. So he brings the same thinking to religion as well. Religion is not necessarily for him a conservative force like it is for the Marxists. So how does it affect the economic environment? How does it affect the political and the ideological environment? These are the things that concern Weber more. Okay, and whenever we are talking about Weber, please keep in mind you have to think about Calvinism, the Calvinist way of thinking, because that is the thing that, according to him, contributed to the development and the perpetuation of capitalism. Okay, so it provided the push for the technological development. Why? Because the spirit of capitalism says that there has to be thrift, there has to be hard work, there has to be honesty, there has to be there has to be a commitment to improvement. Yes, he does talk about things like predestination, but in order to justify that, these things have to be there, and a godly person will therefore reinvest and become richer over a period of time. Uh, and therefore, because his way of thinking was accepted, the Western Europe and the United States became the hotbed of economic activity and the growth of capitalism. Um, Cannon, on the other hand, argues that we are still in the Weberian school, and Cannon argues that religion can be anything. It's wrong to say that it's conservative or it's radical. Remember, radical means bringing big change. So religion can play seemingly contrary roles. Now let's see what conservative roles it plays. The control of the faithful, it happens till this day. Focusing away from poverty happens till this day. But there are also liberating functions. They develop at different times. Okay, it has what is called an escape value. So that is not really a conservative function of religion. Uh, and this coincides more with what Weber had to say, that this liberating role ultimately leads to a transformation. All right, and this will now bring religion in the context of modernity. Okay, what is modernity? When you are talking about modernity, we are talking about economic, political, and cultural changes, but they are science centered. Okay, these will be more science centered things. So. What kind of relationship does religion have with modernity? Big question mark. Um, what about the divine rights of the monarchs? Previously, it was thought that this comes directly from God, but cultural developments started explaining to us the nature of the world, thereby reducing the power of religion. And even the monarchs then found it very difficult to say that their authority came directly from God. So the main links between religion and modernity are three. There is disappearance in certain societies, a disappearance of religion, or a decline in the influence of religion, or a reinvention. First, religion retreats, then it reinvents and then reasserts itself. So, let's first look at the first response that religion gives to modernity: disappearance. Uh, Obviously, please keep in mind, Comte was a very religious person, but he spoke about the three stages. Okay, the three stages in which there is the theological stage, and then there is the metaphysical state, and then there's the positive or the scientific state. So previously, customs and religions were explaining an individual's position in society. Okay, but in the and in the pre-modern society, scientific knowledge was not there to understand why crops failed or diseases came. So people associated it with religion and with try to give it some magical explanation. So please keep in mind that in Comte's point of view, religion and magic go together. But then the scientific knowledge developed. Uh, it was a stage, according to him, religion was a stage in human development. Okay, and it gave largely what has been called superstition. But then when science came, something happened. The decline of religion started to take place. Wilson argued that modernity marginalized religion as a social force. Religion did not disappear, okay? It retreated, it went back, it declined, okay? And the power and influence of religion fell. Now, please keep in mind this was 1966. This is not 2020 or 2021 or 2025. This is 1966. 66 is the age of the wild 60s. The hold of religion is truly going down, and that will give way to the hip movement of the 1970s, in which religion will appear to go down further. But then the vagaries of those times will lead to a reassertion of religion in the 1980s and convert the world into a very conservative world today. So there was ideological attack in the 60s. The scientific rationalism was challenging religion, and religion did not have a lot of things to offer. And then there were men like Stephen Hawking who gave the Big Bang theory. And please remember that in that in the Bible, the first chapter is related to the creation. So the creation of the universe was now being explained not in terms of religion, but by a big bang, and people are accepting it. People are saying that yeah, this makes sense. So once religion is challenged that way, then what happens? People retreat. The people who believed uh, in religion in some form, they receded into mysticism. Modernity promised a more rational society, uh, a more just society. Okay, it promised better social relationships. Where did all those promises go? They were never realized. Okay, and that led to, after the failure, I would call it the failure of the modernist movement, that it led to the creation of new cults, religion reasserting itself in a very phenomenal way, but at the same time in a very fierce way. The religions that are reasserting themselves are not reasserting themselves in terms of love thy neighbor. It's more like hate thy neighbor. It's more like if the other person does not subscribe to your view, and that other person is doomed. And it's better to arrange a meeting between him and God so that God can throw him in hell. So this new version of religion, which has, we are introduced to, is not really part of your course, but it's the flow. It shows us the flow of events as they are taking place today. Uh, these newer cults, these newer sects, they do appeal to a lot of people. A lot of people who may be gullible in other ways, but they serve the needs of the people. They answer some very difficult questions. These movements they do excuse me, these movements they do provide answers to some of the moral uncertainties of our times. Then again, the neo functionalists talk about the reinvention of religions. Okay, In the later part of modernity, there is a retreat from secular society, but religions are reinventing themselves. They have become differentiated, specialized. They focus on core functions that religions must perform, answer those questions that no one can answer. Decline was evidenced by people not engaging in practices, but reinterpretation uh, is characterized by adaptation to the change in position in modernity. So, religion's role is being reinterpreted. Okay, so it this conservative reaction to modernity has also expressed itself in some of the most conservative movements succeeding in the world. And one example is Iran, where the revolution in Iran succeeded in 1979, and an ecclesiastical government was formed. And the same thing happened in the United States of America, where the new right under Reagan and George Bush took place, and they responded to the problems created by Iran by imposing a war that lasted about 10 years. And after that, Iraq too became a subject to this kind of reaction from the Christian right toward the Muslim right. Okay, so these interpretations of the relationships of religion are mutually exclusive. Okay, modernity and some explanations say that modernity and religion cannot move hand in hand. One will move forward at the expense of the other. Um, some might argue that these movements can go together hand in hand, but that will be used, of course, in an evaluation of this. So please go through it, modernity and its relationship to religion and the Weberian approach. And in the next video, then we are going to look at the other approach, which is related to post modernity. Thank you very much.